Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel of crafting, crochet and knitting. My name is Nikki and welcome to day 5 of Vlogmas. We have made Mary, Joseph and a donkey from our nativity scene, so we're going to take a little bit of a break today and do something else. We are going to make Christmassy baubles. I'm about to start the next magic loop, next half of the bauble, and I thought I'd show you what I'm doing. So because I'm having to work UK treble stitches or US double stitches, the pattern recommends that you chain up by 3 chains. It's fairly standard, but I learnt a technique a little while ago where what you do instead is so I still lock the magic ring in this case. This is a bit easier in granny squares, but you pull the loop up to about the height of a US double crochet or a UK treble crochet, and then what you do is you pinch the yarn that's on your crochet hook so that you can wrap what you've just pulled around your hook, and that's like your yarn over. Then you work into your stitch, do your yarn over and pull through as normal, do your yarn over, and then you're pulling through that last stitch that you pulled through, and then also that stitch that is made up of the height of what you pulled up in the original loop. So this is the fiddly bit, which is why you've got to hold that first bit down with your finger so that you can then go underneath that bit that you pulled up before as well, and then you yarn over and pull through both the loops as normal, and that gives you a stitch instead of a chain that resembles more closely an actual treble stitch, where the yarn slants and things, so that when I do my next treble and I hold them next to each other, you can see that hopefully you can see that the yarn slants in a similar way. It's a little bit thicker, that first one, but you do also have the top of the stitch looks like your usual loop that you would work into with a slip stitch or anything like that. It just means that the actual length of the stitch looks a lot closer to a normal treble crochet. So that's what I'm doing. I've been doing that little hack on all my granny square crochet related things recently, just because I think that when I finish it off, it's nicer to not see those 2 other chains. So when you chain 3 up, the top one becomes like the top of your stitch, so you don't see that, but the other 2 chains, I feel like I can always see it. So I use this little technique instead so that I can avoid seeing it. One thing that might happen when you're partway through your elongated, like casting on treble stitch, is that the yarn is a bit like too loose in some places, too tight in the others. So once I get to this final stage, I just do this a few times. It evens things out just a little bit before I do that final yarn over and lock the stitch in place. Everything looks a bit neater. Some of you might be wondering as well what I'm doing to close off my loops. So rather than slip stitching, what I'm doing is I'm cutting my yarn and popping it onto a darning needle, whilst leaving and being careful not to pull out the last loop that I had on my hook. I want that hoop to lie over the top of the first one, essentially. So I'm going to take my darning needle and I'm going to go through this, the back loop of my first stitch, and I'm going to go through the back loop of my remaining loop that I've the stitch that never was. I'm not going to pull it tight just yet. Then I've got my second stitch along and my third stitch along. I'm going to go from back to front underneath the third stitch along with my darning needle. So what that means is my loop that was on my hook is going to lay over my first loop. The yarn that I'm threading is going to lay over my second loop, and the third loop is going to look unaffected. So then I'm going to come back across the front loop of the second, but into the front loops of my remaining stitch, and then also my first loop to pull them together. And now I've got my little V stitches of my stitch lined up nicely, and I'm going to just pull everything a little bit tighter because everything's a bit loose at the moment. So pulling each part a piece at a time, and it's a fairly invisible join, unlike a slip stitch. I figured that because these are going to end up on bubbles, that that edge might be a little bit more visible than ordinary, so I just want to make sure that it's nice and tidy. And then I just took this thread through underneath that first stitch, just to bring it out to the back so that I can then work over it as I'm working the next row. So there we have it, our first little bauble of the season. I'll admit I wasn't sure how the really bright green and really bright red were going to turn out together. I didn't know if it would be too much, but I think if there is ever time for bright greens and bright reds, it's going to be Christmas. So overall, really quite happy with it, and I think because it's so bright and colourful, this bauble is probably destined to go to my little niece. I think she'll like the bright colours. She's only an infant, so it'll be really bold and vivid for her, and then she has her own little bauble to stick on the Christmas tree. So I think that's what I'm going to do with that. I have probably got time during December to make a couple more of these. Maybe I'll gift some away, maybe I'll keep some for myself, but we'll see what colours and combinations and sizes I come up with and which ones are most appropriate for different people. For now, that is everything for day 5 of Vlogmas, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye!